good to see you. Welcome, everybody, to today's installment of your new favorite talk show, The Berman Hour. I'm Jeff Berman, and I am here emanating from Studio City, California, in my apartment. I'm in the process of moving, so if I were to move this, it's just a bunch of boxes and a bunch of shit behind me. But my guest today is a good friend of mine, Mr. Brian Marquis. And I'm going to see if I can get him in here now. Let's see where he is. All right. Where are you, Brian Marquis? Here we go. Matt Socko, good to see you, buddy. Love those wings. Beer, Brian. We're going to be talking about wings right now, actually. Brian, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
There he is.
You're going full on.
Listen, I'm in the deep woods of northern Idaho.
Northern Idaho.
I'm not doing this for COVID. I'm doing this to hide that I'm a Californian.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, oh shit. Oh, shit.
Oh.
Oh, shit. Anyway.
I just wanted to look like a wrestler for you.
You know, I could send you one of my Rey Mysterio masks. That would be awesome. That would be fun.
Yeah.
Right.
That would
How are
nice.
you doing, man?
I'm living day by day. This is the longest my hair has been in 10 years. Doesn't look that impressive, but it's a feat.
You can still grow it mostly, right?
I know. Mostly. Most spots come in.
Yeah.
So that's
cool.
fun.
Again, you're in northern Idaho.
I am.
Is it called the Panhandle, even though it's like facing upwards, like a different kind of pan?
Yeah, it's kind of like, the Panhandle towards Canada.
Yeah.
Hey, Greg.
Is it? Hey, what's up, Greg Markey? Is it the kind of thing like Florida? Like in Florida, the further south you go, the more northern it feels. Like the more north you go in Idaho, the more southern it feels. If you catch my drift.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Well, welcome to my talk show. So a few nights ago, I couldn't sleep, and I was upset at myself for not feeling creative. So I decided to start a talk show, because why not? And it's been a good excuse to catch up with friends and family alike and ask them about what they've been doing in quarantine, how they've been doing in quarantine, and what they do during quote-unquote normal times. But first things first, you texted me the other day about chicken wings, and I have not been able to stop thinking about chicken wings. Do you have a favorite spot in LA that you would go for wings? We've only been to a few together, but LA isn't really a wings town, but I'm curious if you had a place.
I would go to Boneyard Bistro, close to you.
In Sherman Oaks, yeah.
Sherman Oaks, yeah. Great wings.
Barbecue. I can't say I had their wings, though. Great barbecue place, though. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they have some of the best wings in the city. Not exactly hot wings, but they're really good wings.
Yeah, yeah.
I miss good takeout food and just good eating out in general. I went from touring all over the world, trying all kinds of different food, to being stuck in northern Idaho with one grocery store, one very mediocre Mexican spot, one mediocre sandwich spot, and one mediocre pizza spot, and that's it. So,
well, if you're in a town where there's currently not a whole lot of people, you don't want to say that they're all mediocre on such a public and high-profile platform as the Berman Hour, because they might actually be watching.
That's true, but yeah, they're not on the internet or on phones, so it's fine.
With as much touring and traveling as you do, is there one snack or food or something that is like your ultimate go-to, and it lifts you out of a bad funk immediately?
Yeah, sushi. Sushi's we call it a dignity dinner. Once in a while on tour, you got to treat yourself to a nice dinner.
Yeah.
I learned that when I was touring with my friends in the Kansas City punk band, the Architects. They would their thing was going to a Japanese steakhouse. So for me, it's sushi. And actually, my birthday was last week on Friday, and we went to the closest city, which is Coeur d'Alene, and my wife bought me some takeout sushi.
Nice.
And the plan was to get the takeout, eat in the park, maybe walk around. But it was actually uncomfortable how many people were just treating it like a normal day, and the city was packed, and we drove our California license plate Honda Fit right through a freedom rally. I don't know who they're yelling at, but they were like, it was just like anything you see on in Michigan, like people with guns and signs,
Yeah.
and it was just very, because the thing that gets me is it's like, yeah, dude, we get it. We all feel like this sucks. It's a bummer. No one wants to be doing this. But we're also trying to do what we can to keep everybody healthy, and nobody
Yeah.
really knows exactly, how to handle it. And some people are just kind of freaking out, and some people want to ignore all of it and think it's a hoax. And so,
Yeah. There was something that you posted recently, and it was kind of in reaction to that viral photo of, I think it was in Denver, of a nurse standing in the middle of an intersection, kind of
oh
stopping
yeah,
traffic, and this obnoxious woman with a USA shirt leaning out, saying like, "Let us be free," or whatever the fuck it was. And
yeah,
the word that you used is privilege, and I think about that a lot. And I've also been thinking about the idea of American exceptionalism that from a very young age we were
woo!
taught.
Uh,
Oh my goodness.
I did it now.
Oh my goodness.
Oh,
Well, at least now we know you're not in the bathroom and I'm not in the bathroom, because
I'm
otherwise
trying.
you're,
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to do a setup here.
yeah, yeah. But I've been thinking a lot about that idea of, American exceptionalism, and how we're really we start imbibing that bullshit at a really young age.
Yeah, I blew it, Greg.
And anyway.
Yeah, no, no, it's true. And it's, I mean, I say do what you want to do. If you want to protest, go to the people making the laws and the rules and protest. That's your right. But when you're creating parades and, healthcare workers who are just overworked, put in harm's way, and doing the best they can are, you know, out there and setting their precedents, their protest is standing in front of their cars, and you're really going to continue to honk at that person, you're going to scream at that person, like
Yeah,
that's just like next level. It's like, I really hope, none of those people need any medical help. And good on those people, because the nurses and the doctors and everybody, all the healthcare workers, because man, I don't know how long I could take it.
yeah,
If they just open everything up and everyone's like, cool, so my work is never going to be done. It's been pretty heavy. There's been, there's an ER doctor in New York City who took her own life because she just felt like she couldn't help she couldn't save people.
yeah,
And just seeing that kind of horror every day was rough. So
yeah,
yeah, I think it's very, I keep coming up with the same thing where it's like our culture, our society doesn't take into account, that we've lost our general trust of anyone that has real knowledge, because we think our opinions are knowledge. We think,
right.
we're taught by memes, we're taught by one-liners on Twitter, as a society. And I feel like, we don't give credit to these people that spend their entire lives sometimes studying one topic, one subject in science or medicine, and they dedicate their lives to that and the betterment of the human race, and also, to some extent, they're doing a service, to the
Yeah,
world. And it sucks that we hold celebrities higher, we hold, you know politicians at a different level, and then we also let people, just scream and shout and add in their uneducated opinions, and people take it as truth.
yeah.
um, I don't know.
It's
It's
disheartening.
it's
Not
very
everything
disheartening.
needs. Yeah, not everything needs to be tossed into the echo chamber of a culture war. But here we are, where something like a pandemic is ultimately politicized by disgusting people who are opportunists and feel that their lives are more exceptional than others.
Yeah, exactly. So it's very,
Yeah,
very there's a lot of selfishness going on and a lot of selflessness. So I don't know. I think it's
it's the best and worst. Yeah.
24-hour news and all the social media stuff. Um, yeah, it's the best and the worst.
Yeah.
It's really what it is.
Well, you and I have known each other for a number of years, and in the last handful of years, you've been working as a tour manager for Billie Eilish. I see there's a lot of Billie Eilish fans that are in here.
Hmm.
If you're there, give us some hearts. Let us know that you love Brian and all the hard work he does. But you and I were actually on tour together, and you had just completed your first tour with Billy, and it was in these small dingy venues, and you were saying like it was the kind of venues that you and I play, you know, and you were saying yeah, it's not really going to be much, and then it was this gradual process where I could kind of see how hard you were working and how hard that team was working. Um, Once you guys graduated to this headline arena level, which is like this coveted thing for any musician, um, all of this COVID stuff really kind of started to crash in on itself. Did
Yeah.
you guys, you know, and shows had canceled and the tour was canceled, but did you guys, were you able to have a moment of reprieve and just like, ah, we fucking made it. Like, we're at the arena and Billy's headlining and this is the real fucking deal. Like, were you able to have just one moment like that to savor before everything went to hell?
I mean, it was for me not really because the whole first week was really stressful because of all the COVID stuff.
Yeah.
So I was in meetings constantly reevaluating the situations we were in and what was going to happen and what could happen. And, we had to deal with some questions of, what happens if certain people get sick or, um, it was, it was very bittersweet because we had worked really hard leading up to it for our first, headlining arena tour.
It's a
So we
big
had a
deal. It's a big deal.
Yeah, we had a brand new production. We spent weeks in Lidditz, Pennsylvania, prepping for it. I went out there at the tail end to check on production and see everybody and meet all the new crew, and it was very exciting. And so we when the actual shows happened, yes, because when the shows are happening, for me anyways, I'm right, on stage with Billy or right off the stage. I'm not a a tour manager that's in the office the whole time. And that's just a style difference. Like I've been with Billy
Yeah.
since the beginning, and so I like to be out there to see the show, see the audience, see how everything looks from every angle because that's kind of what I've always done is bunch of different jobs. So
Yeah. Yeah.
while the show was happening, yeah, it was very special and cool, and the audience was excited. Um, I think Raleigh was an interesting energy because Raleigh was known to be the last show that day, and um, a lot of kids were reflecting, saying this might be the last concert we ever see, and I was like, wow, that's heavy.
Wow.
I don't know if that's gonna be true or true for some people, but um, it was definitely a really interesting energy. And there was like a 95% show rate. We didn't think everybody was going to come because the news was so big, and
Yeah.
but we actually had a pretty full arena, which was wild.
Yeah.
So we got to enjoy it very briefly, but it was like anything with tour, you catch your stride after a couple shows or a week or two in. We never got to catch our stride. We just got
Right.
going, and then we had to pack it all up.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you had at least some moment, even if it was from side stage, you know, being Papa Bear and doing what you're doing. But that's your job, you know.
Yeah.
That's what you should be doing, and that's what she should be doing, her brother, and everything. I want to talk a little bit about how we met because we have similar paths. You're from the East Coast, I'm from the East Coast. We both grew up playing in punk and hardcore bands. We both were guitarists in bands that had other singers, and we both kind of ventured out and started doing our own solo singer-songwriter things. But you took a very unique approach, and I'm curious if they kind of went in tandem or if one was the chicken and one was the egg. When you started going solo, first of all, what really prompted you to do that? And what was the germ of the idea, no pun intended, behind starting the acoustic basement tent for the Warp Tour, which for those who don't know, it was a
Yeah.
specific acoustic singer-songwriter tent at Warp Tour, which was quite a breath of fresh air from all of the loud stages.
Yeah. First of all, I see people checking in. Want to say hi to everybody. Thanks for being with us. Me and Jeff up
Yeah,
here.
so
Um, yeah, my band broke up. Therefore, I am broke up in 2010, and I found myself, leading up to that, wanting to pursue some solo music, out of creative necessity, but also I wanted to feel like something was in my control because when you're in a band, it's not all up
right,
to you, and it's not all, you know, you know, we didn't want to continue on for various reasons, but mostly because we've been at it for a while and we were tired and broke and on each other's nerves. And, I wanted something that was different and a musical challenge. So I started getting back to writing songs on my own, which I really hadn't done, in like, 8 years, uh, you know, focusing on it. So it had been a
yeah,
while. And, I kind of started playing acoustic stuff. I looked up to a lot of people in that time that were in bands like I was, and they were either in bands currently or weren't in bands anymore. People like Rocky Votolato and Dallas Green with City and Color from Alexis on Fire. And then a lot of my friends, that I had toured with, like Vinny Caruana from Movie Life and I Am the Avalanche, Anthony Ranieri from Bayside, Chris Conley from Stage the Day, all these different people that I had come in contact with through touring and just being in the music scene, they were all doing solo stuff too. And it was interesting to me to see that. And people like uh, Frank Turner, Chuck Reagan, all people who had been in bands and done the transition. And I kind of looked up to those people as giving me the courage to do it myself. And
sure,
yeah, so I spent the year writing songs and kind of getting my life back together because at the same time that my band broke up, it was my parents were getting divorced. We were losing our childhood home. I was in the middle of a breakup, and I was broke. I didn't have my apartment in Boston anymore because I gave it up for touring. So all kinds of big
yeah,
changes were happening. So I just kept
wow,
going with the big changes, and I decided to move back to Los Angeles. And when I got there, my plan was, to really work on the singer songwriter side of my music, but also to work in the industry. I was like, I felt like my resume, I looked like shit on paper to any regular job because I just screamed flight risk. You see all these different jobs with big gaps of time, or
yeah,
just, whatever shitty jobs in between touring. I didn't look consistent. I didn't look like someone on paper in their late 20s who was hireable for anything meaningful.
right,
Um, and I really thought that my best skills and traits were in music, were in working in the music industry. So I went out to LA with the intent of getting a job in the music industry, working for a label, maybe being a product manager for a label and putting together vinyl and CD packages, and um, or just doing A&R, or just honestly anything. Like I was just going back to LA for the second time in my life to see what I could do. And um, well, yeah, before that, I went back to LA because when my band was breaking up, I pieced out that winter for 2 months, and I just lived in my friend's apartment while she was gone in LA by myself. All I did was just write songs, get drunk, get sad, and then I got kind of sick of that, and I was like, all right, let's move on. And I felt like LA felt new to me again, and I lived
yeah,
there when I was 20 years old briefly. So I decided I'd go back that next fall. So I spent the rest of the year kind of planning the move and writing songs. And so when I got out there, I went with what I knew. I hit up the people I knew, and I knew Kevin Lyman from Vans Warp Tour because my band,
yeah,
Therefore I Am, had done Warp Tour in '09, and we did a single show in '06. And since then I had made friends with the production staff and him, um, and I just wanted to see what his advice was, or see if he knew of any jobs happening in the industry that might work for me. So I met him for breakfast, sometime in, I think it was October. It was like 2 weeks after I moved to LA, just October of 2011.
Sure.
I met with Kevin and we sat down and we talked, and I told him exactly what I told you. I look like shit on paper. How am I going to get a job? I'm just a touring guy, a musician. But I have all these skills and I know I can do these jobs. I just need to show people. And we talked about it and talked about some label jobs and music cares and some different connections that he had, people looking for work. But he also said something that really like, it was like a real epiphany moment. He said, you know, the jobs to be had in the music industry today are the jobs that haven't been invented yet. And
Mm.
it really sounds like a made for TV story because I had not premeditated the acoustic basement before that conversation. I had
Yeah.
only felt like there is a place for these people within the Warped Tour punk alternative world to
Because
play singer-songwriter music like Frank Turner, Chuck Reagan, Anthony
yeah,
Ranieri, all these people.
it's such an accepting crowd. You know, it gets a
Yeah,
bad rep for being young or skewing this or skewing that, but the people that are there are fucking genuine. They love being there. They're willing to go through shit to get there. They're willing to
yeah,
be in the fucking heat all day to stay there. Yeah, I mean that's a perfect
yeah,
perfect marriage of an idea.
yeah. So I in that same breath, like it was literally like time slowed down. And Kevin said that to me. You know, the jobs we had in the music industry are jobs that haven't been invented yet. And in that same breath, I was like, have you ever thought about doing an all acoustic stage at the Warped Tour? Because I loved Warped Tour. I grew up with Warped Tour. I went to the first 3 years of Warped Tour that it was a full tour,
Yeah,
and it became like the foundation of my
your
mainstream punk,
summer. Yeah,
my
it's
summer,
the
my music.
highlight of our summers. Yeah, it's great.
I discovered so much music. I went home with so much music. I got to see bands from California and across the country that never got to tour near me, or I just never saw them. Um, and so Warped Tour was a big part of my life, and then being on Warped Tour with a band, doing it in a van and trailer, was such a visceral experience. And we made so many lifelong friends that I'm still friends with today, and some of them were on my crew. And I it was kind of like second college. You know, it was like you go in with you go into the trenches with these people, and it really forms this bond. So Kevin and I talked, and I said, "Have you ever thought about doing an all acoustic stage at Warped Tour?" And he's like, "You know, we've done it a couple times in tents, you know, with sponsors and this and that, but you know, it's." He kind of gave me the idea. It never really worked out. It was never great. It never really worked
Yeah,
out. It was just something to do. The PA was never loud enough, or it wasn't really, you know, that engaging. And I said, "Well, I think there's a lot of people, including myself, that are facing this new world of music where they have to play acoustic or solo to supplement their careers in bands. You know, a lot of these people have families now, a lot of them have bills, and a lot of them aren't cutting it just doing the band, or they just creatively want something else." And I mentioned some of the people who are in that realm, and and he said, yeah, and I said, you know, with a good PA system, you know, and someone running it, you know, like that cared, maybe this could be a thing. And he was like,
yeah,
well, you know a lot of these people. Why don't you give them a call and see what they think? So I went home that day and I called everybody. I called Vinnie Caruana, I called Anthony Ranieri, I called, you know, all these people and hit up a bunch of people. And I was like, hey, what do you guys think about this, you know, acoustic stage idea for Warped
yeah,
Tour? And everybody was on board, and they're like, you know, and it was really a nice nod to our relationships and our friendships that a lot of them, you know, trusted me. They were like, if you're doing it, I'm in. And I was
yeah,
like, well, cool. I can't promise anything, but I'll see what I can do. What's up,
yeah,
Danny Fresh?
yeah,
So I yeah, so I went back to Kevin. I said, Kevin, I got a list of people who are interested. Some are already on the tour, and you know, some aren't and interested. Um, and he goes, okay, I'm gonna hire you to produce this stage. You'll book all the artists, and you know, when the time comes, we'll set up the stage. It'll be a tent stage, and you'll be in charge of setting it up and stage managing, and you can perform. And I was
yeah,
just like, it happened. It happened that quickly and easily,
yeah,
and it was really only because I had the you know, I had the courage to just speak up and throw an idea out there. Um, and Kevin, in hindsight, Kevin, you know, told me, he goes, you know, after I did it for 4 years and it was a pretty good success out there, Kevin told me, he's like, people come to me with 10 ideas a day, maybe more. And once in a while, one of them is worth jumping on, or one of them hits in a certain way that I feel like there's something there. And fortunately for me, right time, right place, opened my mouth with an idea, and you know, he put his chips on me. And to be
Yeah.
honest, it wasn't a big risk, which was nice. It wasn't a big risk for him or myself. It was like, let's see how this goes. He's a real master at pairing sponsors with productions and tours.
Yeah.
So
Thing.
he knew that it would have low overhead because it's just acoustic and vocals for the most part. You just need a PA system and a tent. So that summer we went out there for the first time in a what was it, 20 by 30 tent. And we had a PA on the ground, really no stage, just decking on the ground. Very, very simple. And the first day in Salt Lake City, it was packed the whole day, and it was really incredible. I had,
Yeah.
Anthony Ranieri, Into It Over It, Koji. I had a lot of people in that tent that were just, so immediately it spoke to somebody. It spoke to people there at Warped Tour that, oh, there's this cool acoustic stage where I can go see these artists without the separation of a barricade and without being far away, and in an intimate experience that you would normally only get in a basement show or a small club or a bar or something like that. So it was really cool to see it working, and it worked so well that halfway through Kevin gave me a second tent, and made it bigger, and my footprint was bigger. And then after that, we kept going throughout the years, and we got a sponsor. We got Full Sail to sponsor it, so that helped with funding. And then I was able to just book some really interesting acts, take some chances on some different kinds of acts that might not get a chance out at Warped Tour. And then I was booking some people like Sleeping with Sirens and Yellow Card, who are already on the tour and people were into. It was really interesting. And like halfway through, I had artists coming up to me that were on the tour going, "We want to play your stage." And I'd be like, "Yeah, this has all been booked for months. I don't have any more budget." And they're like, "No, we don't want any money. We just want to play."
Yeah.
And that was like the coolest part of the vibe of the Acoustic Basement, was that there's just something special there that people wanted to share and people wanted to get involved. And, artists wanted another set to play during the day. For them, it's, staved
something
off,
else to do.
off boredom,
Yeah.
and they got to do something and treat their fans to a different kind of performance. So,
Yeah.
so I did that for 4 years. And, as far as I could tell, it seemed pretty successful for its little world out there at Warped Tour.
Absolutely.
And it was cool. And, and I brought you out for, towards the end of, or the middle to end of the first one?
I don't remember when it was
Yeah,
on the first one.
Austin Lucas. We had him on the first one. I think you started in like Phoenix. Didn't you start in Phoenix when it was like 115 degrees?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
it was
all
interesting because I just remember the first time I met you, you gave me the passes, and you said, like, "Don't fuck this up. Don't make me cut your balls off." And I was like,
yeah.
Fair enough.
Is that the first thing I said to you? Is that how we met?
Yeah, it was that morning.
Nice.
Yeah. But
well, it was funny because you met me and everybody else on the stage on one of the hardest and worst of Warped Tour, Phoenix. It's notoriously hot. It just sucks. And we were probably like a couple weeks in, so we were pretty shot by the time you came along. You're bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, like, "I'm ready to play, boss." And I'm like, "Well, there's the stage." I'm already hallucinating from the heat.
Yeah, no, I loved it. And that was something I think too, that it's just like Warped Tour. By the time I had the privilege to play it a little bit, it was just like there was nothing that was going to bring me down. Like heat, rain, anything. I was there. I felt like I had achieved something I always wanted to do, and I was very grateful for you. So when you said that to me, I was like, I like this guy.
Yeah, and I think you got the vibe real quick, and you're already touring all over, and I think I asked you to do more of it, but it didn't work out with your schedule that year, or was that the second year? I forget.
That was 2014. Yeah, I think the original offer that you gave me, I had European tour, so then as opposed to doing the beginning of Warped, I did the end of Warped. And then I remember you guys gave me a handful of days, and I was like, "Do you have any other random days, like the week before or anything?" And you're like, "Yeah, in Minnesota." And I was like, "Let me do it." So I
That's
went to
right. Yeah.
Minnesota. I played Warped, and then I, by myself, went and did Mankato and Omaha and Grand Forks and Fargo, and then met up with you guys in like Kansas City or St. Louis or something like that. Anyway, but yeah, it was man, that was so much fun. That was so much fun to do. Also very fun. I want everybody who's in here watching and listening to know that Brian and I met Kiss recently, and
Oh,
it was kismet.
look at this, everybody.
Oh, there it is.
Boom.
There it is. There it is. So lovely. So lovely. I wanted to ask you here before we hop off, what has your creative outlook been like since we've been in quarantine? If you've had one at all, have you felt stifled? Have you felt creative? Um, I know a lot of people feel pressure to try to be creative now because we're forced to have all of this downtime, but it's not really easy to do. And like I said at the beginning, this silly talk show idea was something to kind of tickle my brain to get me to be creative. But what has it been like for you as an artist, but also as somebody who's creative in the tour managing duties that you normally have with Billy and Phineas?
Yeah, it was really weird and tough coming home. You know, we ended the tour on the 13th of March, and Billy and the family, we all decided that we were going to drive the bus home because we had so much stuff. Flying
Yeah,
seemed kind of crazy at that time. You know, flying is already tough with Billy, and you know, we just kind of we also felt like it might be the safer option. You know, as far as health and safety goes, we didn't know how crazy it was going to get, so
yeah,
we drove home for 3 days from Raleigh all the way to Los Angeles, and you know, it was weird because it was kind of like a delayed end for everybody. Everyone else was like, all right, I'm locked down for the weekend. This is how it goes. So you're watching everybody on Instagram, like doing puzzles and like, you know, doing challenges and stuff. By the time I got home, I was just heartbroken and bummed out. And I, you know,
yeah,
essentially we had all lost our jobs for the time being. And I wasn't feeling very creative or anything on top of facing, you know, I haven't really written in a long time. I haven't performed in a long time. I've kind of, you know, the tour I did with you in 2017 was the last solo tour I did. I think
yeah.
maybe the last solo shows. I think I did one solo show that spring, but I've really, it's funny, I've played more weddings in the past couple of years than I've played shows. And I'm not mad about it. It
Yeah,
was really
yeah,
an incredible honor to play weddings.
sure.
Um, but um, so for me, it was like, you know, I've been saying like I don't have free time to work on music. You know, I put everything into Billy for the last 2.5, 3 years, and that's fine. You know, I made that choice before I even started with Billy. I wanted to slow down my music and I wanted to try other stuff and I wanted to put myself into some work that was meaningful, and tour managing is what I landed on, something I really cared about and felt I was best at.
Yeah,
So it was so when I came home and you know people are saying all kinds of things. What's up, Trojan Steve? Oh man, he's a classic character from Warped Tour
nice.
out in Chicago. Uh, and anyways, you know, people were saying like, oh, you know, coronavirus is going to be so great for arts and music. There's going to be so much great art and music to be made, blah blah blah. And I'm like, give it a fucking second. Like, we're all experiencing this severe heartbreak bullshit. I'm like, yeah, that's easy for non-artistic people or non-creative people to say,
Yeah,
"Oh, I can't wait for all the great art that's going to happen." It's like, yeah, go do your puzzle. Go do your puzzle,
yeah.
um, because it's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure on top of you're already feeling pretty shitty, um, and
And
also,
I don't know about you. I don't think people are gonna want to hear about this later. Like if I write a song about how I feel now, I, it, I'm not gonna want to listen to that 3 years from now. You
yeah,
know, like I can listen to a song about a breakup or the passing of somebody, you know, in my life, but I feel like writing about this, I don't have my challenge is I don't have the creativity to wrestle with it and put it in a poetic way that makes it so that it's not about quarantine or pandemic. And at the same time, if I were to go super literal with it, which isn't really my style anyway, there's no fucking way I'm gonna want to think about it that much to actually put pen to paper and come up with something that I actually like.
Yeah. Yeah. So all that being said, I finally got to a place where I was like, you know what? I've got a lot of time on my hands for an unknown amount of time right now because we don't know when touring's going to come back.
Yeah.
No one has an answer. No one has a correct prediction. We're just going to know when we know, and I don't think it's anytime soon. So I really had to think about it and go, well, my living situation is, I've been living out of a bag for the past year of my life, not just on tour, but in general, because, you know, my wife and I moved a year ago, actually, out of LA. We moved into storage so she could move up to Idaho to take care of her mother, who was, suffering from late stage Alzheimer's. And we put all our stuff in storage in LA, and I just hit the road most of the year, so it was okay. But now that I'm here, I still have just my bag with me and some clothes.
Yeah.
I don't have any of my belongings. I don't have my music gear. I have one guitar, thankfully. So I just decided, you know what? I do have a lot of time. Let's see what I can get into. So I started amassing some small pieces of equipment to make a recording setup with my computer,
Nice.
Which nowadays doesn't take that much. It's come light years from when we grew up, working on computers. So I'm taking it upon myself to learn Logic and to learn how to record myself again. I used to use GarageBand. We got Ben in there.
Oh shit! Break out the gin. Let's get it.
Break out the gin. Is there a private chat? Can we move it to a private chat? He's got a tip.
Yeah.
Anyways, got a recording set up. I actually just received one cable today, so now I can hook up my interface and get going and just see what happens.
Cool. Awesome, man. Well, that's good to hear, and I'm sure people are excited to hear from you, and hear music from you, because it's been a while. It's been a drought, an understandable one. But it's good that you have the drive and the focus and the desire to really want to do it. That's the most important.
Well, that's something I realized I needed more of a balance of. Like the last couple of years of working with Billie have been incredible, but I was definitely itching to do something creative. The tour managing is creative in its own ways sometimes, but I had been feeling something was missing, and it wasn't that I needed to be performing or be live or touring all the time, because I'd done so much of that, and it's been a really great experience. But I just wanted to see what else I could do. So now I'm kind of, speaking of Warped Tour, Kevin Lyman is doing a 320 festival, which is all about mental health.
I saw that, yeah.
And it's all online now, obviously, but he's still doing it this weekend. And he asked me earlier this week if I wanted to do a song. And in the spirit of all this time, and I've kind of been on a yes streak, I said yes. I said I'm a little rusty, but let's do it. So Kevin once again kind of got my gears turning, and I'm performing Sunday morning. It's an all day, like
I saw that. It's 8:50 a.m. or something.
8:50 a.m. Yeah, it's probably the earliest time slot I've ever had on a festival.
Hey man, you're on a festival with the guy from Coldplay, so milk it.
And Art from Everclear, so I'm not mad.
Yeah, that's good. Well, that's awesome, man. That's awesome.
So
I'm gonna get out of here.
Wait, I thought it was the Berman Hour. This is the
whole idea behind the hour is that it's not an hour. That's
the Berman 40 minutes.
Yeah, no, they've been 15 minutes. You kidding me?
I feel like we've lied to people.
Because you've gone along with me on many things, so many times that we don't need to get into. But I've gone along with you today because, Jesus Christ, I owe you so much between Warped Tour opportunities and jobs jobs that you don't want to do, but you get me to do, which I appreciate.
True.
Anything for you, anything for you. But that's the joke. I thought you were in on the joke. It was the Berman Hour.
I forgot. I was just having a good time. I forgot.
Oh no, yeah, no. I don't mean to cut you off or anything. What else? Anything else that you want to say or you want to plug?
No, everyone's got bonus time here. No, not really. I mean, like I'm doing 320 Festival this weekend. There's a lot of cool stuff, a lot of stuff about mental health, which I think everybody could use a boost of right now.
Yeah.
Um, Not just because of COVID, but just in general. It's good for artists and non-artists alike to, you know, to kind of take care of themselves and learn how to
Yeah.
take care of themselves. So check out 320 Festival this weekend, and maybe I'll have some new music this year. You know, we'll
Excellent.
see. We'll see what happens.
All right. Well, thank you. Thanks to Jeffy and Brian in Gainesville. Thanks to your baby brother Greg in Massachusetts. Thank you to Daniel in Norfolk. And of course, Ben King up in Bellingham, Washington. Brian, I
Yeah,
love you. I miss you. I don't know when we'll see each other in person again, but until
I
then,
know.
um,
That's sad.
let's do it. Let's go out, and I have one last question for you. You're on
Yes.
a desert island. I don't know how there's karaoke on this desert island, but you only get one karaoke song to perform for the rest of your life. It is.
Oh, one song. Um, November Rain, Guns N' Roses. Boom.
Oh.
Yeah, there it is.
There it
Well,
is.
thanks everybody for tuning in. I hope everyone. Are we both
I
out?
didn't forget.
Oh,
I think
Deborah
we're
by
good.
Great Song. Oh, there you are. Um, yeah. Everybody
Yeah.
take care. Thanks for
All
stopping
right.
in. Thanks for having me,
Yeah.
Jeff. I appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you, Brian. I love you, buddy.
Let's
Bye.
get it.